Welcome to the Party Poker European Open 5, where poker heavyweights and foes Neil Channing and Mark Goodwin are among those who have already clobbered their way through this 72-player field to grab a guaranteed seat in the semifinals and a shot at that $200,000 first prize. Tonight, more big names will try to pin the tails on those donkeys, including the current Poker Open champion and an Irishman who finds the genie every time he turns on the lamp. But they all wish they might get just one river right. Michael Keiner is a poker pro's poker pro. The German added to an already illustrious poker career with a WSOP bracelet in 2007 and the Poker Open title in 2008. He ain't bluffing.
I came here to win this one, not to become second. And if it works, what I think in my head it will, then just another proof for the right strategy.
From Burnley, Kevin O'Connell was a participant in the first ever televised poker tournament in the UK, and nearly every one since. He's made the semis, he's made the finals. Sooner or later, he is gonna win one. 2 years ago, John Magill took $1.2 million for finishing 12th in the WSOP main event, and he's been living the dream ever since. There's no competition when it comes to the biggest bluffer on the table. Just bow down and call John Magill.
Other players think I'm a complete nutbox, and you can see the way I play on TV. And I can't help myself. I'm going to try really hard today, but just 20 minutes in, I'm anybody. So I could have any cards, and I just love playing any two cards, but today it's going to be a different me.
Welsh chipper Roberto Romanello burst onto the poker scene with a deep major finish 3 years ago, and he's been a European tournament fixture ever since. His mouth is never short of a few words, but he's still looking for a big impact finish on TV.
Whenever you see a field with world-class players, and if you can win it, obviously it's a great achievement. So, yeah, to win this would mean everything, and probably could go down as one of my best wins if I did come first in this as well, So, yeah, would mean everything.
Peter Wood is a car dealer from the South who's been playing recreationally for over 20 years and now hits the big time with his first time in a televised format. He's nicknamed the Rumper. Steve Watts is a former championship footballer who's now turned his hand to poker and patents. He's won a few times around the London scene, but can he event a win on TV tonight? Rolling on with another heat of this European Open 5, and thrilled to have Neil Channing himself in the box, a man who's already guaranteed in the semifinals of this tournament. Congratulations, Neil.
Thanks very much, Jesse. Yeah, I'm keen to see how these guys play.
Chips on the table. Yellow chips worth 1,000. Blues are 2. Reds are 5K apiece. And that cat card marker has not brought much luck to anyone. 100,000 per player. 600K in play.
Pass.
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 Raise here from Michael Keiner.
Pass.
Up to 6. And oh my. And I mean, Keiner is usually sort of, tight and conservative early, but he'll have done his homework on John Magill, and
Cool.
He can get stubborn, Michael Keiner, if you know what I mean. He might, if he takes an opinion on Magill, he could lose a lot of money here, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like this play from Michael Keiner coming out in the first level and raising with a hand like ace-8 from out of position. I know he's suited, and obviously now he has flopped a flush draw, so this is pretty much his perfect flop. But I think you can only get yourself into trouble early on like this, and the penalty for losing 20,000 chips early on in one of these six-handed format things is much worse than any benefit you'll get from picking up 20,000.
And even though it looks like a dry board, I mean, in a vacuum here, is Magill still better off overall check raising here?
Yeah, Magill, he's got the button, so he's got position.
No, he's small blind, I think. He's actually small blind, John.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, Jesse. But I think it's always better to get your money in when there's a big draw-heavy board like this, and if you get called, you get called.
It's a min raise. The Scandi move is to just push if you're going to be able to play 54 more tournaments. Keiner's called, and obviously the club will get him paid maximum.
Yeah, the problem here, though, is that he's liable to miss on the turn, and Magill's not going to make it very cheap from now on. There's so much money in the pot. I think Magill can only do one thing, and that's move the whole lot in. Yeah, he's going to make a smallish bet here. For me, I would just say stick it all in because, you know, you're not going to fold anyway, and you're just as sooner likely take the money in the pot. There's 62,000 in there. He's bet 18. Really, you know, he's giving Michael Keiner a price to call now. Michael Keiner's hand is around about a 25% chance to win.
Check.
It was a very dangerous bet on the turn, wasn't it? And then he's given Keiner a chance to bluff on the river. But, I mean, he was giving Keiner a price for even hands that were a lot worse than a flush draw, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure about that one from John, but I think the real mistake there was Michael. I said earlier that he has a slightly unconventional style for this format. He doesn't mind getting involved early on with slightly substandard hands, and now he's really handicapped himself. He's down to around 50,000, and it's hard to come back from that. I just believe in these early stages, every chip is extra precious, and I think Michael will rue the ace-8 hand where he's given away rather too many early on.
Smile.
Yeah, it's the definition of temptation. You say you're going to play tight, and then you get those real seductive. I mean, this to you is a bit too seductive, right?
Here's a classic example. Yeah, Steve's woken up with ace-9 suited.
You can see my blind, but not
you know, he's in late position. It's come round to him. Nobody's raised. You know, if you're playing multi-table tournaments often or cash games, it's a natural thing. I've got ace-9 suited. I'm going to raise from late position, try and put some pressure on the blinds, whatever. But the reward for winning these kind of hands is so small at this early stage. And how does he feel now? He's in a three-way coup.
He's not
basically
feeling
with
good.
a raggy ace. What does he want to hit? He hits an ace. He's in a mess anyway.
For me right now, and I mean, John Magill, tightest player at the table.
Check. Check.
Right, do you fire continuation bet? Do you not? I mean,
Well, again, this is the thing in this format. If Steve had chosen to fire a continuation bet, with it being a three-man pot, he's going to have to bet somewhere in the region of 14,000. Suddenly he'll have put about 20,000 in with no hand, while the blinds are inconsequential, you know. And so he's chosen to check, and as soon as he's done that, he's more or less giving up this pot, which kind of begs the question: why bother playing it in the first place?
check out the cheese on Chuck. I mean,
85,000.
I mean, you got. This is it now. This is it.
Yeah, he's beautiful to watch, isn't he? I mean, this is great stuff. He's got bottom pair and a backdoor flush draw, and Steve Watts there making the comment that he was going to check raise there. Obviously, we'll never know whether that would have happened, but yeah, this is where Michael Keiner. He's put himself bang under pressure early on in the tournament. John Magill's got all the chips, and this is where the chip leader can really use this to his advantage and put pressure on somebody when it's their tournament life at stake.
I mean, not only is Keiner winning, he's actually percentage-wise very far ahead. He's got Magill in bad shape, and yet he can't call in a million years.
Yeah, there was no way he could have pulled that one. A brilliant read there by John Magill, and a classic example of how chips are power.
We're going to get to see just how lucky John Magill's card marker is. That cat is back in a hat just after this. Welcome back to the European Open 5. Funny story about Michael Keiner. He was one of the first plastic surgeons to really introduce the tummy tuck to the poker world. And, I mean, some of the biggest names in European poker have gone under his knife. I won't say who.
Don't know what I hate more, him or the cat.
Kevin's made this about, I think, 15 under the gun. And it's the tens again for Magill. This is different, but he's made the re-raise again.
Yeah, again he's against an under-the-gun player. This time he's out of position, though. He's still got lots of people to act behind him. And he's, again, immediately gone for the re-raise. Quite a big bet now, you know, 40,000. And Michael Keiner in a very tricky situation. He's effectively going to be calling all in. It's a raise under the gun followed by a re-raise. You have to say, Ace Queen could be in really bad shape here. You're going to think to yourself, look at these other two guys. One of them's going to have a pair. The other one's either also got a pair or he's got Ace King. For sure, and Ace Queen doesn't stack up too well in this spot. Having said that, it's well above your average hand. He's in a desperate situation with only 29,000, and I'm sure if it had just been one raiser, his money would have been in a heartbeat.
What about the fact that it's more than a double up? If it's a perfect situation, it's a triple up.
Well, that's probably what swayed him to call, Jesse. He's in a bit of a desperate state with 29,000. And he might as well stick it in, and you know, if it's going to be his day, he needs to win this one and get back into it.
40.
I mean, Kevin's got chips in both hands there. Is he thinking about calling, or is he thinking about going all in?
To me, calling here is a big mistake, Jesse. If he wants to move the whole lot in, I wouldn't really blame him, but I think folding is by far the best option. But
pot odds, 25,000 into 90.
Yeah, but what do you want to hit? You don't really know where you are. You've got, you know, there's a good chance that a big chunk of this pot's going to go to Michael Keiner. He knows that Michael Keiner must have a pretty big hand here. He's been faced by an under-the-gun raiser and a re-raiser, and he's calling for all of his chips, having played quite patiently since that first hand. You know, those pot odds are no good if you're only going to win a side pot.
Kevin's got, I guess he's counting everything up. It's probably about 80,000 that he's finding when everything counts up right here.
If you ask yourself the question here, Jesse, if you're Kevin O'Connell, Michael Keiner was in a situation where he's in a desperate situation. He's got no chips. He's got not much choice. He's got a hand. He's thinking about it. He puts in. Kevin O'Connell's got lots of choices. He's got 81,000 chips. He's still got a guy to act behind him.
Re-raise all in.
Okay, so he's done the aggressive thing. At least if he's going to play the pot, he's been aggressive and he's put pressure on.
Beautiful bet.
And it's a great bet from Kevin in that respect. If he's going to play the hand, he must be the aggressor. When Kevin put his money in, he knows that if he gets an instant call, he's in a mess. And once it's a big think like this, the hand starts to look a lot more like 2 10s, 2 jacks.
How?
Kevin knows if it was Ace King, the money would be in already. Kevin's holding Ace Queen, so he feels it's not likely that John's got Ace Queen. If it's Ace Jack, he would have folded.
And a call.
He's going to put him on 2 10s.
I have chosen the wrong.
It's a very big pot.
No.
I think he's got Ace King.
I mean, at the end of the day, the guy who had the toughest decision ended up being Magill. They all had tough kind of decisions. Maybe you think you would have leaned Magill's way because of the pot odds as well?
Come on. The hand's coming in.
How about that? I mean, that's like, is that sick as a dog type of sick?
Diamond is coming.
Give me the 10 of clubs.
10 of diamonds,
4.
or the 10 of clubs now. Is it there?
Just for TV.
Is it there?
Just for me.
10 comes, I'll spit on the table.
Don't give it
Pleasure
up.
doing
Sebastian
business
TV,
with
the 10's for me.
Right.
This is the result of that pot. O'Connell, the big chip leader. And incredibly, Neil, I mean, they were actually, the other 2 queens had been folded in that hand. It was only one of 2 aces that could have been hit by Magill and Keiner.
Yeah, poor old John Magill. I'm not sure I'm in love with the way he played the hand, but having made it 40,000 after Kevin made quite a big raise under the gun, 15,000, he got himself into a spot where it was 56-4 to win an enormous pot. And I think he had to call. He did call the brave thing, and yeah, he got screwed.
My second ace of the night.
Pass.
It's starting to get precarious.
Raise to 18,000.
And I kind of hope for Kevin's sake to get this one through, because if he doesn't, he's going to start to feel like he's dusting off his big stack.
Pass.
Oh. He ran into the aces and now he's running into the kings.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get this one through, Jesse. Peter Wood, of course, is a similar situation that Steve Watts was in before, in that he's got around about 100,000. If he goes for a re-raise up to about 40, he's still going to sort of leave the door open for Kevin O'Connell to move in on him with some expectation that Peter could fold. But I think we're going to get the same situation as before. Peter's going to make it sort of, I don't know, 39 or something like that, and Kevin's going to think for a long time and throw his hand away.
Raise
42.
42,000 total.
He didn't ask how much it was to him. Which was a slightly looser play than Steve Watts, but as you said, the same result.
Yeah, I like this. He didn't go for too much Hollywood, did he? He made his bet consistent in the way he has done his other action. Not too quick, not too slow. Again, you know, he's got to be thinking if Kevin's maybe raised with a pair of 9s or a pair of 10s, am I going to be able to get action out of it?
Also, if you remember, it's the second time he's raised an O'Connell. I think Kevin made kind of a biggish laydown earlier when.
Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. This situation's pretty different to the one with Steve Watts when he had the aces against Kevin's raise. First of all, Kevin's got a slightly better hand. He's got 7-8 suited, which actually plays very well against kings and aces. It's about the best hand you can have against those hands. Secondly, Kevin might be feeling like he's getting pushed around a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a situation when Peter Wood had 2 9s, I think, earlier in this heat. And Kevin laid down something like, I think it was ace-10 or ace-jack. It was some kind of
a little bit of stubbornness here from Kevin, though, because, again, you know, we keep coming back to it. This format doesn't afford you the luxury to make too many loose calls. I'm not saying this one's particularly loose. He may have it in his mind that he's being a little bit bullied here and that people are taking advantage of him. But the way to fight back if people are bullying you is to bully them back. Stick the whole lot in and put some pressure on them. Calling people as a way of stopping them from bullying you, that doesn't really work so well, particularly not in this format. As it happens, if he had a re-raised all in, it would have been a disaster. He's up against kings. But it might have been a better thing in the long run to do than just calling all the time.
Now that he's in this situation, Kevin, I think this is you would lean towards the call more often than the pass, wouldn't you?
61. All in the dark.
I wonder if Wood's funking for a call here. His eyebrows.
On you. Prefer that.
Actually, the all-in the dark move is interesting.
He went all in the dark?
He went all in the dark, and it's something that people often do when they have ace-king in this spot.
Can I win by luck?
Wow, I didn't realize he'd gone all in the dark. That's
wow.
And that's hurt O'Connell's out situation. It has to be the 7 or the 8 that's not the heart, which, to be fair, there's not actually that many of them. It looks like, what is it, just 3 cards?
Yeah, that's basically it, Jesse. He's down to 3 cards.
Nice answer.
Look like when you said you're going all in into that ace king.
Well, you could interpret it 2 ways. You can interpret it as a weak move, or you got a strong move. It cuts both ways, doesn't it? So.
They've played 63 hands, and everyone's won at least 8. The average would be, just over 10. So that's quite amazing, really.
Only a 5 on there.
5 and 10,000. Have you got a prediction, player related?
Not really.
I like the way this Peter Wood has played all the way through. He's the one that's impressed me the most today. I hadn't really seen too much of him beforehand. I don't see any reason why he's going to mess things up from here. Obviously, it's fairly random. They've got to the 5-10 level, 6-handed. But you've got to think with 200,000, he's going to be there in the last 3. Michael Keiner showed a lot of determination, and he's played his short stack well so far.
Is that a shove for you as well? 10-jack suited?
Oh, for certain, Jesse. Yeah, I have to shove there. I mean, he's only got 60-odd thousand. It's 6 big blinds, and it's a lot harder for John Magill to call than it was for Michael Keiner to shove. Shoving is always easier. I think that's something that the kids call the gap concept.
I wonder if John Magill can find a call here.
That's string bet. You put the cat on
Three
last.
Oh, there we go. He's put the money in there.
That's the line there.
And he's in good shape here.
He takes some.
Yeah, it's going to be a decent way. It's about
to get the chip,
70-30.
for you or for me.
Not much in it. Oh, it is.
Oh, I didn't. Oh.
Michael needs a bit of help. He got a bit of help with the nines and all in against Magill earlier.
Holy smoke.
Not too bad.
Well, this is Michael Keiner's flop if ever we've seen one. He's got plenty of outs here. He's not hit a pair, but he's still 50-50.
I'm not sure who's got more chips here, but it's going to be very decisive for either player.
John McGill's going to have a few left over.
Give me a club. No, I can have
he
a
needs
club.
another club.
Give another club. Come on.
He's got the ace of clubs in it.
Come on.
Oh.
That was a black
You've
one
still got
too.
some chips.
I know I have.
Wow.
Awesome.
Tell you what,
Massive flop.
Carter's gotten out of some trouble. But he did what he had.
But I didn't want to see a jack, you know.
Trying to get rid of us.
Stroke the pussy.
No.
After neutral bad.
The amount of time people have been
Yeah.
swept that out, Jordan.
It's not like you.
Yeah.
Look at Michael Keiner. What an absolute pleasure to give all that man chips.
30,000.
Tell you what,
Race
it's
to
been a
make
bumpy
those.
road for Keiner back from the very, very short stack. But wow, what shape is he in now? And the ace queen's a smile.
Yeah, he's just gone for a standard raise here of 30,000, which is interesting. I mean, basically, he knows that if Kevin O'Connell goes all in for 55, he's going to call anyway. And John McGill's only got 13,000. So he doesn't really need to make a bigger raise than that.
Come all in.
Say goodbye.
All in.
Yeah, and Romanello, the same type of stack, actually.
Actually, I'm going to possibly call with it.
Type of stack where Keiner's calling any two.
Yeah, Michael, again, with Romanello, it was one where he was always going to have to call if Roberto pushed all in. So he didn't need to raise more. He's happy to call. He says, I guess I have to call. Looks a bit fed up with it, but he's going to be pleased to find he's in a raise.
I can't fold my hand without a circumstance.
You got a pair?
No, I got ace
It's an
queen.
extra 23.
Okay.
23,000.
He's not happy about that.
Can't flip again.
It's not too bad for Roberto. He doesn't mind being in a race at this stage of the tournament. He needs to get some chips to get back into it.
He likes it now.
Second.
Well, Keiner has been good on turns and great on rivers.
Oh, no more time.
Oh, still alive.
6-9.
You can hear all the people cursing about what they would have had they made some kind of hero calls. Those are
Survival.
and Romanello.
Yep, good one for Roberto.
Oh, he's been hitting
Michael
cards, I thought.
back to where he was before now.
Magill down to a farthing, but from Watts on down, is it panic button time?
Certainly in this format, people do tend to wait a bit too long sometimes before they press the panic button.
Plenty more European Open 5 action coming up after this. Welcome back to the European Open 5. Neil Channing and myself,
An
of
interesting
course.
game, guys.
There's a good chance that Kevin's going to move his money in here, and if he doesn't, John McGill definitely will.
It's kind of an interesting thing going on. I mean, obviously, we're going to be doing this. There's going to be all-ins every hand until we get maybe 4 or 5 players.
Well, as it happens, they both found a hand now, and Kevin's done it with a way above what he would have needed to do it with ace-8, and the gap concept illustrated there in that John doesn't have to think too much because this time he knows that Kevin doesn't have to have such a strong hand, and 2 sevens is way above average against the range of hands that Kevin might be moving with.
He's ahead of both their ranges, but combined...
Oh, I've seen what you've been shoving with, lads.
That's basically the problem. Combined,
You want to call
and,
in?
you know, he's not committed in any way to this pot. He hasn't put a chip into the pot yet. He can just throw his hand away, maintain his 200,000.
Made the good decision.
I'm
Of course,
in for- I was
the
in for-
upside for winning
Oh,
that.
Just be careful with the verbal
Upside for Peter Wood winning that pot, Neil, would have been him probably feeling like he's about 75% to make the final two.
What do you want?
Maybe even more.
Cards then, please.
I can't do that.
Queen, 9 of clubs.
Are those 10 of spades? What they got?
Eight,
Yeah,
baby.
all over it.
8, baby.
Oh,
Don't want the ace, just the 8.
What they've been amazing.
What a game this has been.
There you go.
And if Peter Wood had put his money in, he would have flopped 2 overcards and the nut flush draw. Going
Yeah,
into
flush
the
would be
hand, he'd
nice.
have only been about a 30%
even
chance.
Have 2 more
Just a
spades.
7, just get it over with.
Come on, Catherine, if I'm in 8.
What is it? A couple full outs for O'Connell. The 8, the aces. Some of it.
You sucked.
Get up there stairs, Mark.
McGill has. We're still 6 now, aren't we?
We're still 6. Kevin O'Connell left with less than 2 big blinds, and yeah, John McGill gets back up to nearly his starting stat.
Nelson's got my Donegal don't come off, do I?
Not yet.
Come on, Catherine. All I'm looking for is king, queen. That'll do.
Is that
king,
all?
Queen,
Suited
queen,
or
queen,
unsuited?
That's
jack,
virtually the nuts
7,
on this
9.
table.
And
Well, you need something to eat in your hand.
this kind of hand, I mean, Roberto, because everybody is so short stacked, and he's short stacked as well.
Yeah, this is the problem. Everyone's so short stacked.
Breaks my
A
heart
lot of people are
holding
going to be
this
committed to call. Kevin O'Connell's got 5,000 invested already out of a stack of 28. He's going to be calling with a wide range of hands, and Roberto has to fold that one.
Breaks my heart.
How
holding that.
much have you got left now?
How much have I got? Last maybe 2,
Should have 20
10,
in total.
15,
I'll leave it.
20.
That is,
3.
that's the kind of question,
Wow,
with the
so
kind of
simple.
hand he has.
Not blind, I'm blind.
Well,
All in black.
All in.
I haven't looked either.
Did he just say blind?
Blind. Did you not look?
No.
If you've been, do you want me to call or do you want me to look?
Oh, it's pass.
I haven't looked. You want me
hasn't
to
looked
pass?
either.
I haven't looked.
Look, I don't care. Do what you like.
And how much is it? 28 total?
He's thinking of calling
Can't
you
look.
out.
Well,
again.
John's getting 2 to 1. If he does look, he would save all the hassle because
Well, you haven't looked either.
he's got ace 10, and that's obviously
you haven't
a hand
looked,
that's
Kevin, either.
two-
So it's 18.
you know, a good bet at 2 to
Well,
1
we'll
against
keep
a
these
blind
down.
man.
What do you
And we'll see the
How do you
medal
call that?
first.
Blind man's
They
They
poker?
both call it blind.
Everybody can see.
Blind
Oh,
man's
keep
poker.
these cards down. We'll look at the medal.
that's
Are we allowed to do
They did
that?
our
Last
five,
month?
dude.
possible
we do
adrenaline
that?
rush
Last month.
of playing the
I'll
hand
check
this
for you.
way.
Can I keep the cards down on the glass and deal the flop?
For the viewers at home.
They're both in the dark.
Both in the blind.
They're both blind.
Keep the cards down and we'll see the flop first.
This is
and then we'll turn them up on each one.
For the
Tough
viewers at
ruling
home.
for the tournament director deal. Which way do you think he's going to go?
You can have the flop, then you both put the cards down as a one.
One card and then turn
But
one
don't
card.
ask me again for any more flavours this tournament, okay?
Got a cigarette.
It's a $500,000 tournament.
I'm doing the cigarette.
It is being played in a great spirit.
Do we turn
Yeah,
one each after the
absolutely.
flop?
It's,
Keep
John
one for-
McGill,
keep one for
you know, he
everyone,
just
right,
enjoys
for
his poker, and Kevin doesn't look like he's having a bad time. He's desperate to get out there and have a fag.
Oh, I've got an ace.
Okay,
Turn one each.
now put your card stack on.
So not turn one each. Keep it to
Oh, come on, Marty. One each.
McGill's 94% here. It's going to be a bit of an over.
Oh, is it fun?
Okay, point to both of them now, come on.
Now John's turned over the 10 first by the looks
poor
of it.
Kevin,
So
poor
Kevin's going
Kevin.
to get a bit of a slow roll here when the ace
You've got a hardcore.
2 hearts. 2 hearts.
Good luck to you.
I got my cigarette out, so that's the main thing.
Oh,
Jack. Jack,
comes.
baby.
A couple of outs now.
Jack, baby.
Oh, 6 of spades, I can see it right now.
Jack, baby. Jack, baby. Nearly.
Flush.
I'll tell you what,
Kevin, cheers.
easily the most entertaining all-in that's been seen in over five seasons.
Good luck.
Thank you very much, mate.
Well, Kevin had a bit of a roller coaster day, didn't he? He found himself chip leader. He found himself with one big blind, and he's really, you know, he's seen it from both ends.
Now I play easy because now
I just heard this little noise go past. Someone just nicked my blind.
You see it on TV. I had quite a big hand actually. I was never passing. Never.
God,
Not blind on
these
blind.
guys.
At this playing stage.
Raise.
Raise. 30,000 total.
Always on my big blind.
Pass.
Leave it, there's only 5 that's left. It'll be a big blind every few hours, isn't it? So that.
McGill's getting on here, isn't he?
Well, this is a tricky one. John McGill started this hand with about 120,000. He makes it 30 to go, and Peter Wood knocking on towards 200,000. He might think to himself, if I move all in here, John McGill's going to lay down a lot of the kind of hands he'd be raising with. He doesn't realise that John McGill's got a pretty decent hand in Ace Queen. I think John McGill, because of his table image and because of the way people think about him, has to think that Peter Wood's putting him on a worse hand, and he has to call.
Hello.
I don't think I've got a really good hand.
Yeah, Peter Wood doesn't believe for a second he's got a good hand, does he? Peter Wood is thinking that Ace-Jack is pretty good here.
You're absolutely right.
I haven't seen you turn over rubbish tonight, that's the only problem.
Because I haven't played rubbish all night, because I don't think I want to go and donk off on national television, thanks very much.
Which makes me think I should...
I think Peter thinks that John McGill's got a hand like maybe King 10 or something like that, and he doesn't want a big race against him.
He doesn't really know that John's got a big hand. He has worked it out. He has worked it out. It's in. Is it? No, it's not in yet.
He's a big one for this.
Sideways shuffle.
He loves all this sideways shuffle. I've seen him do this 5 or 6 times.
You've got Ace 10.
Queen's
No, I think he's got Ace 10. I got Ace Jack.
Ace Jack.
Well, I open he's got Ace 10.
Ace Queen, I knew it.
Come on, Catherine. Oh, well, first mistake.
You've seen
Look at this pot size, 250,000.
Yeah, it's a massive pot, but you know, we're at big blinds now, and the pots are going to be bigger. I don't think Peter did anything wrong in moving all in.
There are split pots. That's opened up some extra ones. The deuce would be a split pot. Not the 5 though. Not the 5 pips.
No way, you're back in it.
Yeah, back in it.
What's your point on mine?
Wow.
From 13,000 me.
How about the seismograph on McGill's chip counts tonight?
Yeah, he's had a traditional John McGill afternoon so far, hasn't he? Really, he's been, you know, up and down like a yo-yo.
120, Catherine.
I thought he had a bigger pound.
Peter Wood should realise, if he doesn't realise already, that he can't really afford to take these blinds, which basically means he's got to move them all in on one of the next 2 hands.
Right.
So he's got to choose whether this is likely to be better than the next hand he's going to get, and probably stick it in this time. Really.
Do you think sort of what happens to some people who are playing on this format maybe for the first time is that they're used to 5 or 6 or 7 big blinds, but used to it very often in an 8, 9 or 10-handed table?
Actually, I think a lot of the inexperienced players that we get coming onto these TV things now have had all their poker experience from the internet, where they've played mostly 6-handed tables.
Nice cards for Watts. Is it going to be a good situation for him?
Well, I think it's a good situation because, of course, he just raised to 24,000 a short time ago with no hand at all and had to throw it away. And this is going to make people possibly think that he doesn't really have a hand. It doesn't look suspicious that he's only raised to 24,000 when the blinds are 5-10, as it might have done if he hadn't played too many hands. John McGill immediately says, "You've been raising me all night." I think John McGill's going to set him in here.
I'll say I'm all in.
All in.
Oh yeah, it was a quick McGill, quick call from Watts, and it's basically under half of McGill's stack. Was this just pretty automatic considering stack sizes?
There's just a bit of a cold deck for John McGill, 5-handed. The fella's just raised and laid down a couple of hands earlier. He's made it 24. John McGill's got plenty of fold equity and he's got 2 9s.
Oh,
that's good.
It's going to be hard for John to win this one now.
Get straight here, 7 and an 8.
Very good.
He saw that straight off.
There's the 8.
Come
on,
straight off.
He's worked out a way.
Come on, the 7.
You said it was hard, and John says it's easy.
You know you can do it.
I mean, John McGill was so convincing there. He actually had Steve Watts, who had 3 kids. He actually had him worried. Halfway through the 5 and 10,000 level, and how is the Steve Watts chip lead going to play out?
Well, I think Steve's played reasonably conservatively, Jesse. I think in recent times he's been reasonably tight. He's had a couple of good hands. He's played them well, and yeah, I think he'll just steady as you go.
And what do you want, Watts?
All in.
All in.
I think actually, I mean, Keiner has really kind of come into his own, you know. All of a sudden he's, all of a sudden he's about to get knocked out.
How much is it?
Shame, because he's actually started to really move his chips around. And
yeah, he's played with freedom since he had, you know, a one decision stat. But he's done nothing wrong here. Move all in with Jack Queen. It's an above average hand. You know, he's looking at 3 guys behind him, but Roberto's found a big hand and he's got to play. Peter Wood is probably really absolutely frustrated here. He's banging his head against the brick wall. He was desperate to call one bet, but well, there you go. He's decided to gamble, and he's going to find himself in a really good spot actually, Peter, to get right back into the tournament.
I'm winning.
A chance to triple up for Peter Wood. Both himself and Keiner are all
Can
in.
the falls hold up, Marty?
There'll be about a 50,000 side pot and somewhere in the neighborhood of 160,000 main pot. It's around there. The percentages show Wood's going to win enough of these to put a big smile on his face.
Yeah, this is a great situation for Peter Wood now. He's made a bit of a gambling call. I mean, if one of the other two players had a pair in their hand, which is probably going to happen maybe 33 to 40% of the time, you know, he's going to be a big underdog in this three-way coup. As it happens, he's a small favourite.
And a bigger favourite now.
Yeah, it's a decent flop for him. He's about a 70-odd% chance of winning this one. Oh, there we go, 60. Shows what I know.
Now, obviously, it's Keiner all in here. If Wood wins this, Keiner's out. If Keiner wins it, Wood's out. If Romanello wins it, they're both out.
Yeah, Romanello, even if the fours hold up, he's going to win a small side pot. He's going to get some change. The Queen of Clubs is in Michael Keiner's hand, so he's picked up some more outs now, and he's gone the second favourite now.
3 of hearts.
Is there a card that was...
Oh,
wow.
Get in there.
Was there a card?
Pleasure to play with you.
Nice to play with.
Pleasure to play with you.
Pleasure.
Look at Peter Wood. He's going to get a lot of positive reinforcement for the way he played his short stack, and he's not going to be far off the gosh darn lead.
Yeah, no, he managed to find a good spot. I mean, I was critical of him because I do think he played a little defensively, a little passively. There were a couple of times where he could have pushed with any 2 random pieces of paper, but he waited until he found what he considered to be a hand, and he put it in with a pair of 4s. He's gambling because somebody could have easily had a bigger pair, but he found himself in a very good spot, and it worked out well for him.
Lines are going up all the time, like a grain elevator in an empty silo.
15:30.
All right, okay. Probably not have to worry about that.
Even Watts. I mean, you know, has Watts got a 45,000 in him here?
He has and he hasn't. I mean, if he makes it, you know, 30,000, what is it? 45,000. 3 big blinds. If somebody moves in on him, he's pot committed to call anyway. So, you know, again, he might as well move in. I hate to make the format sound quite boring, Jesse, but there are times in the game where there's just not much decision making. It's just, shall I move all in or not? And John Magill's got an easy one here, but obviously he's got a big hand here, and he feels like he doesn't mind a bit of action, which is why he's made it 40. Probably hoping that he's going to get re-raised, possibly by a hand like Jack King suited.
He might as well.
I'm all in.
Re-raise, all in.
Call.
And the quick call, not good news for Peter Wood. He knows that, and he sees it.
The problem is with Peter's move in here is that he didn't have fold equity. John Magill's made it 40,000 to go. Peter Wood moves all in for 117. It's 77 more. He needs John Magill to have a really trashy hand to pass. Obviously, John Magill can easily have a trashy hand. He doesn't always have ace-king. But the problem is that when it goes to showdown, King-Jack matches up badly against a lot of the hands he might have.
And Wood is all in. It's a huge spot for John Magill, especially on this kind of flop. It's really just the jacks. The diamond would make it interesting.
Oh, that certainly made it interesting, Jesse, like you say.
Diamond would be good.
The river with bated breath.
Yes!
Oh,
that's a terrible suck out. Sorry, John.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm well used to it now. Jeez.
Yeah, well, we're going undercover now,
I thought
boys.
the way you were talking, you had a small pair.
No.
Something a lot of poker players on TV aren't realizing, which is that actually, if you lie every time on TV, then actually it's nearly the same as telling the truth.
I must have told John Tabatabai in my heat 30 times that I flopped a set against him and bet out, and he still doesn't believe me. Well, this is a trouble situation now for
35.
Raised to 35,000 total.
Nine's obviously a hand that can not only call a raise, but think about trying to induce one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very strong hand, four-handed. It's folded around to him. One guy's already folded, so yeah, he's making a smaller raise because he doesn't mind if Steve Watts had gone over the top all in. Peter Wood would have beaten him into the pot. John Magill, however, has a horrible situation. Yeah. He's going to find himself an 80-20 dog. I don't think he can fold with this stack size. He doesn't really like it.
He looked at those and he sort of said the equivalent of pooty. I mean, it's no fun.
It's no fun because you know that most of the time you're going to be 50-50 and some of the time you're going to be 80-20 dog. And that's not a great combination, really.
What about closing your eyes and pretending you misread your hand?
I've counted it.
What, that you had 9-3?
Yeah, 74, is that right?
The problem is, you know, when he decided to not raise with the 9-5, he knew that he was going to have to play maybe two of the next three hands.
20.
And a pair of threes is above average.
He's going for the stop and go here, Neil.
The stop and go is actually the correct way to play it. If you're going to play it, you should stop and go. Because now...
I said you just as well have gone all in.
Well, Peter Wood is saying that, but the thing is, if Peter Wood was sitting there with a hand like maybe ace-8 or something, and now John Magill pushes all in, Peter Wood might not call him.
Yeah, it ended up the same now as a push, but Magill, as you said, got the advantage there.
Let's take.
I like the way he's done it.
Let me suck out for a change.
Yeah, he hasn't been lucky with...
If Peter Wood's hand had been maybe... Say Peter Wood's hand was 2 6s in the flop game, ace, king, jack. It's possible now that he might have passed when John Magill moves all in on the flop. John Magill has to move all in on the flop, whatever happens, played it that way.
Pleasure playing with you.
And you, John. Pleasure, sir.
It's been a fantastic performance from John Magill. He made some fantastic plays. I think he made very few mistakes, Neil. He was hugely entertaining. Blinds 10 and 20, and yeah, it's big pressure, and an idea that someone might step up, and the step up is actually just the frequency of the all-ins. Roberto sort of searching for strength here. I mean, 45. He is the chip leader now.
Raised 45,000 total.
Yeah, he's really played it good actually, hasn't he? He's used his experience three-handed. I thought actually when the blinds were 7-15, he probably was just as guilty as the others of missing a couple of chances. But given that everyone's playing quite tight, he's picked up on that, and he's very much aware of his image and where he stands with the other two.
Is this a stop and go?
No, I think he might just abort here. He was just trying to nick the blinds. Having said that...
No, I mean, Watts calling out of the big blind for 45,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologise. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It obviously was, because he's gone for it, and he's very unlucky. He's walked into Roberto's 2-pair.
It's gone horribly wrong for Watts. I mean, and obviously this is the only problem with the stop and go, Neil, is if you actually, the range you're putting your opponent on is completely wrong.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate one. I mean, maybe, actually I don't really play a stop and go in that situation. I think he had enough chips to re-raise all in and to make Roberto lay down an average hand, or below average hand like 5-6. It's a slightly unusual play, but he's just very unlucky really that Roberto's flopped 2-pair.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if Roberto could have even called with a 6 in his hand. I mean, obviously he had a 6 in his hand, but drawing dead by the turn, and Watts guilty of trying to win it. Good things come to those who wait. Well, not if the oil is 5 days old, but for Roberto Romanello, This could be his moment to break through to the latter stages of a big televised tournament. He's played good. He's got the chip lead. Does he deserve it? Not if Peter Wood has anything to say. The man from Brighton on a good run, out-chipped here, and perhaps he'll find his mojo back now that there's nothing to lose.
60,000.
Raised to 60,000 total.
Now he's made it 60,000, and Peter's looked at a pair and moved all in. But the question is, does he have fold equity? And, you know, if he's got to a situation where Roberto, he's got to call 105, there's 225 in there, he's getting 2 1/4 to 1. He may feel it's a call with any two. A lot of the time with 10-4 offsuit, you're going to be a 60-40 dog, and he's getting just over 2 to 1. You know, if he's up against a hand like ace-8 or ace-9, he's a 60-40 dog. Again, he's decided, obviously 10-4, not a very good hand, but he's decided that things are going okay. I can still grind away at him.
Actually, it's getting quite difficult for Roberto here. He needs to win this pot somehow. Is it
yeah, he probably just needs to bash away on the button a bit more, because he's not going to get chances to re-raise with weak hands and feel comfortable that Peter's going to lay down. So it's going to be very hard to win hands against the server at the moment.
Wow.
Wow, he's so fed up. Is he actually fancy calling here? If he fancies calling here, then Roberto's not raising enough. He's definitely got this one. He's definitely played this one a little bit wrong, Roberto.
Well, he's gone again for quite a small raise, hasn't he? He's made it 65. It's only 35 more. I mean, you know, if he just makes it 75, he gets these ones through with a lot less sweat.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling about this for Roberto, because you can easily see Wood all of a sudden now betting a lot of flops. And if the flop goes check, that all-in on the turn worked for him last time. I mean...
Oh, well, this is a flop that Peter's going to like. And I think, I have to say, I think this hand's been a bit of a mistake by Roberto. It's probably not going to cost him too much more money, because...
60,000?
Well, I'm guessing Peter will give it a bit of Hollywood and just call here. But I think Roberto might just give up. The danger is, obviously, if a queen comes off on the turn.
Bet, you got something?
I got a pair. If you got a king, you're winning.
Ooh, don't know about that.
But we got action.
Cool.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right for Peter to do all that kind of talking and stuff here, but at the end of the day, this is a hand where he's put 125,000 in, and there haven't been too many hands he's put 125,000 in on a king 4-4 flop. I think Roberto can figure out that he must have a hand. Oh, I don't like the all-in though. I can't see why he can't just check that one and try and give Roberto a chance to hang himself.
You haven't got the king there.
That's the biggest chip lead Peter has, and it's going to be the smallest total that Roberto. He's under 200,000 when he folds this, and I mean, definitely time to pour yourself a drink of water if you're Peter Wood.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's almost crack open the champagne time. I mean,
it's great times for Peter. He's got to be happy with the way it's gone.
Yeah, cool.
Hang on a minute, just say raise.
Raise all in.
Okay.
How much you need?
25 more.
Roberto's done a lot of things right this heads up. There are a couple things that went wrong for him. I mean, I think he's given it a great run. Peter Wood has definitely turned the screws better.
It's pretty unlucky there, Roberto, though. Like, he declined to play from the small blind with deuce 3 in favour of waiting to take his big blind, and then he found deuce 4. So that's pretty sick for him.
It is, and the board low enough right now that the split pot is unlikely, which is actually kind of a huge percentage, I'm guessing, when the deuce 4 faces the 5-6. I mean, it's not a matchup I've seen 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean,
Are there
especially
no
on a
split pots anymore?
Well, there's a few, but I mean,
There
on a,
are three.
pair, on,
No,
a,
there's a touch
yeah,
difference.
on a paired board like this, it's pretty unlucky.
Sure. No. I win.
The 6 is going to play. That's
Good luck, mate.
And you.
that's
Really,
pretty
really enjoyed it,
amazing
mate,
at
yeah.
the end. The 6-5 plays against a deuce 4 and 6 high wins it.
I didn't feel any pressure at any time during the tournament because I was very focused on what was happening to the other players, and I felt like I made some horrible mistakes earlier on. And when I got heads up with Roberto, he had a 3-1 chip lead on me, and I just played my game and yeah, come through. Really, really happy. Really happy.
It is Peter Wood through to the semifinals. Next time, it's former champion Ian Fraser, who also made a final table in this event last year, sitting down with the ever-popular Surinder Sunar here at the Party Poker European Open 5.